are honored to be joined by Matthew Melmed, who is executive director of a great organization called 0 to 3, which was started 40 years ago.
That's right.
Dedicated to?
To making sure that every baby has a healthy start in life. Yeah,
well, this is part of a series that we're doing, a whole comprehensive series of programs that examine the issues that you're talking about. Our series is this campaign, if you will, is called Right from the Start NJ. And we encourage you to go to our website that you'll see up here, but you'll also see 0 to 3's site as well. Matthew, one of the issues we've talked about a lot over the phone and in meetings getting ready for this is, quote, brain development, if you will, birth to 3. What are we talking about?
We've learned a tremendous amount in the last really 15 years from neuroscience about the critical importance of the early years of life. And what that science is telling us is that the early relationships and experiences we have as babies and as toddlers literally form the architecture of our brain. And that we know that 1 million synapses are being formed every second. And we know that some get stronger and some get weaker, really based upon the nature of those kinds of experiences and interactions we have with the adults in our lives. And that, in turn, lays the foundation for who we become as adults. It's like building a house. If we have a weak foundation, we're going to be able to make repairs later on, but it's going to cost a lot more and cause a lot more challenges. But if we get things right at the start, we have a very, very strong foundation upon which to build.
From a public policy point of view, is this a public policy question of infants, toddlers, 0 to 3? I mean, is this a public policy question?
Absolutely.
How so?
No question. And people don't naturally make that link.
They're like, yeah, we'll take care of your kid. No, that's not it. It's that simple.
But if you really look at what the science is telling us, where we need to be investing in terms of providing support and education for parents is really in the earliest months and years of life, because that does lay the foundation. And what we find is that when you have a baby in the United States, it's sort of a little bit like the Wild West. You're there on your own. There's no real support for you. Try to get childcare, for example, for an infant. It's prohibitively expensive.
That's right.
At least quality care. And that's coming at a time of life when, people are forming families. They don't have the kind of money they have. They're telling you to start to save for college. But in reality, return on investment is much stronger in terms of what we do in the early years of life. We've got a Nobel laureate at the University of Chicago, which is not a hotbed of liberalism, that basically has shown and demonstrated that if you make investments early in life in terms of good quality childcare, in terms of things like paid family leave, you make sure that families have time to be able to bond with their babies, those will have big payoffs for not just those babies as they grow, but for society overall.
So one of the things that's interesting, I mean, you have this national perspective, and you're clearly one of the most respected people in the nation on this issue, and your organization has been leading the effort. But for those of us in New Jersey, there's a new governor in 2018, new legislature. There's an opportunity to do some things in this state. And again, I know you deal in 50 states. But what could and should we be doing?
Well, clearly, first, take a step back. We are really at a critical tipping point. We are seeing across the United States that the science is finally catching up with awareness on the part of policymakers and even on part of parents. Parents really understand why these years are important, and they're looking to their elected officials for support in different ways. So New Jersey, as an example, can and should be putting more resources into providing public subsidies that support parents' abilities to purchase childcare. You can do that through direct subsidies. You can do that through the tax system. But you need to recognize that parents need quality. You need to bring up the training of that workforce. Right now, the workforce has
in the
very
childcare industry, if you will.
Very, very little requirement in terms of what they get, and there needs to be a lot more to support them. And they're paid poorly. Childcare providers tend to be paid worse than parking lot attendants.
I thought our babies and our children were our most precious resource.
Well, we talk about that.
Easy
Politicians love to kiss babies, but not when it comes to doing it. I mean, they just don't make that happen. And paid family leave is another piece of that.
Explain that to people. What does that mean? Explain to me. Everyone hears the expression paid family leave. Does it mean like, okay, you take the time to care for your child for a certain period of time, paid family leave? Go ahead.
The United States is the only industrialized country in the world that does not have a national paid family leave policy, which essentially
So it's a state by state, you say.
it is state by state.
Right.
And New Jersey actually has a provision in its unemployment insurance code that allows for that to happen, but it's not widely used and it needs to be built upon. But essentially what it means is that when you have a baby, you should get some form of economic subsidy from either from your employer and or from the state that allows you to spend those critical weeks and in many cases months to bond with your baby. That's what the baby needs.
That's right.
The baby's programmed to want to spend time with you, to be able to interact with you.
And we're like, hey, get back to work.
Yeah, and when they don't get it, that has a really severe impact on how they understand the world. Yes.
There's an initiative that I want you to talk about, the Still Face experiment. What is it?
Well, I hope you'll be able to show it. But essentially what this is
Some
that...
video, but go ahead.
Yep. You ask a parent, usually a mom, to put their baby, it could be 1 year old, and you face the baby, and you look at the baby, and the baby's looking at you. And in a healthy relationship, the baby and the mom are going back and forth. They're doing this incredible serve and return. That is what you expect to see. And then we ask the mom to turn around, face the baby, and have a completely flat affect, as if she's depressed. And what you'll see in a very short period of time, usually minutes, is that the baby at first will do everything the baby can do to bring mom back, to engage with mom, babble, point, you try to really get mom engaged. And when mom doesn't engage, then the baby starts to literally lose control. They look away, they have gaze aversion, and at some point they'll just start to break down completely. And if you ask mom to come back, they'll be right back there again. But if you're 8 months of age and you have a mom or dad and they're clinically depressed or not available, you're living in a really chaotic environment, that baby at 8 months of age, when this incredible amount of brain development is going on and self-identity is happening, is essentially getting the message, no one cares about me. I'm not important. No one's talking to me. I'm not learning words. I'm not engaging in the way that I'm supposed to engage. And that really creates a very weak foundation in terms of brain development and in terms of where we go as adults.
Matthew Melmed is the executive director of an extraordinary organization, 40 years in, blazing a trail, if you will, called 023. I thank you for advising us on our initiative called Right from the Start, NJ. Thank you, Matthew.
It's my
We're right
pleasure.
back
Thank you.
after this.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by NJM Insurance Group, the Terrell Fund, the New Jersey Education Association, Rowan University, Bartley Healthcare, the New Jersey Reentry Corporation, and by New Jersey Sharing Network. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.